Here we are in Ladbroke Grove, and I have two members of Piano Wire. How are you guys doing?
Alright, good.
Fantastic, fantastic. This first part of your video interview is really about your past. You guys are both in a better place emotionally and spiritually since 80s Matchbox. Is there anything from that time that you kind of miss? Because I think people always dwell upon like the darkness of it, but tell me about the good times if possible.
Do we miss money?
Probably, yeah. Maybe the money. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to kind of. That's quite an interesting question actually, because I think just being kind of so caught up in the kind of the sort of negative aspects of the experience that it's hard to sort of remember that it was actually like a pretty amazing band.
Indeed, indeed. We've basically got you now in this room, and I want to know how you actually write your music together. I mean, do you write it together, or do you finish bits off for each other? Is it a jam thing?
It's like a sort of Lennon McCartney thing.
Yeah.
It's like one of us has the other one's song, we finish it off for each other, sort of thing.
Okay.
That's kind of like the plan.
Okay, and did that actually, was that like part of your dynamic from the past at all, or is that a new thing you've had to work out together?
No, not at all. No, it's totally new.
Okay.
Before we all just wrote on our own, and then the band finished it off for us. Whereas this is like a kind of, like a dialogue between two people, sort of thing.
Okay, okay. I'm now saving pretty much into the present way of actually asking you questions, so forget the past, present, future thing, we're just going to let it roll. When it comes to the way you actually write your music together, and obviously, you kind of finish things off, it's a Lennon McCartney thing and stuff, I want to know a little bit more about the lyrics, because it's quite hard to discern what's actually being sung. For instance, a band normally will talk about their lyrics and stuff, and yeah, I just want to know a little bit more about what you guys are on about in terms of the vocals.
Sim writes all the lyrics.
well, I mean, I think like the kind of the most sort of striking thing for me about the band is kind of one of them anyway is kind of like the way I don't think me and Andy had this sort of, we weren't writing together in the last band. I mean,
yeah.
The last band was Andy did most of the writing and the drummer did and stuff, and Guy did all the vocals obviously, and like. And then
it will inevitably happen. I'm just trying. I'm trying to help you. I tried to help.
There's so much content there, though, isn't there? I mean, but it's like but yeah, and we met up again, which has been really great. And then the whole songwriting process has been a bit of a mystery, really, because I mean, there's just sort of Andy's taken like a massive sort of diversion in the kind of music that he was writing, and like written all these like amazing chords and melodies, and then I've put some ideas in, and then the lyrics. Well, the lyrics are
what they're about.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, he needs to know, man. He doesn't know what you've been writing down for him. He needs to know what he's been singing about. It would be nice.
Well, I mean, kind of like, I guess there's a kind of a sort of a doom sort of romance kind of element to quite a lot of the lyrics, and kind of they're quite Oscar Wilde inspired, and sort of David Bowie, early Verve kind of inspired. We were listening to a lot of, we've always been inspired by Arthur Lee and Love and the 13th Floor Elevators, so it's just an amalgamation of all that. I mean, you can only really draw on experience, can't you, really, kind of when you're writing lyrics and stuff like that. So,
Sure.
yeah.
What other mediums have inspired the songs? You mentioned some poetry, so obviously, having any books, films?
Well, I mean, I think we've kind of always been into kind of like some kind of aspect of psychedelia, drugs, any kind of like personal experience, really. I mean, I got into Oscar Wilde quite massively in the last sort of few years, and a kind of a Dickens thing, I suppose. But I mean, Andy's more your sort of films and stuff,
Okay. Any particular film you want to mention, Andy?
Film? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the band is. I mean, I suppose the point of this band is kind of to, we're supposed to like be giving some sort of life kind of experience sort of thing. So it's not meant to be complicated. It's meant to be sort of just, just almost like a sort of stream of consciousness sort of thing. So if you like, suppose it's like, you know, that's why we've got kind of the Bukowski sort of reference, and, you know, there's all that kind of beat sort of stuff and what have you. It's like this kind of, you know, it's just got so kind of fed up of like trying to kind of craft a kind of character or an image or a kind of persona, and you know, just in the end just decided to just let whatever is going to come out. So it's like all those kind of like real life sort of characters, you know, like even in film, like, you know, like massive fan of Kurosawa or something like that, Toshiro Mifune, you know, like he's totally unskilled, you know, he just walked on the set of a film, like, you know, and just started acting just out of his gut, and it's that kind of thing of like almost like a, well, we shouldn't mention them, but like Ramones sort of ethic, you know, or like punk ethic, you know. But for us, punk is whatever this sound is at the moment, you know, it just came out that way. So.
Okay, I like the Kurosawa reference. I can definitely relate to that whole spontaneity thing. I want to ask you, do you feel that a lot of the manufactured element of the industry is actually crushing spontaneity out of the way people actually write songs? Some people will actually say that writing to formula seems to be like the only way of doing things now, simply because they're not willing to go over a crash, bang, wallop kind of jam element. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, it's almost like kind of the whole sort of thing of like jamming out songs, like, you know, we used to, it's like massively inspired like Birthday Party or The Fall or something. It's like, you know, just an endless repetitive sort of riff, you know, that's, you know, we're not even doing that. I mean, I think the kind of formula, like the pop formula is so deeply ingrained, do you know what I mean, like since, you know, it's like rock and roll, how is rock and roll, like 70 years old or something now, so it's like, it's that kind of, you know, it's no longer kind of a sort of something to sell yourself with. It's more like that's kind of very natural thing, and that's kind of like what we're adhering to. It's, I think what's destroying sort of contemporary music is you know, just really poor kind of artists being constantly promoted for decades. I mean, that's the main thing that's destroying it. I don't think you know, if you can take, you know, it's when you take a formula and you don't have any actual character, like you know, and it's just a formula on its own, then it's a kind of, you know, it's just an empty sort of pointless thing, and that's what you get like with Radio 1, isn't it? So,
yeah.
No offense to Radio 1, I'd love to be on Radio 1, obviously.
Ah, okay.
Well, I mean, like, I'd love to play. I don't want to, like, you know. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, there's no icons, is there? There's no like people for like, you know, the people to connect to, you know, anymore. Really, you know, it's just like a stream of music that's just coming out of a factory, you know, which is fine.
Well, yeah, we were talking about this before off camera. I mean, do you think that we should be looking to the mainstream for inspiration? Should we just ignore the mainstream completely? Because there's quite a few characters on the scene, quite a few unsigned bands on the scene. Even if you don't get that on your channel whatever or BBC whatever, that's no bad thing, really, is it?
Well, I wasn't aware of anything other than the mainstream, you know. I think all the way through the years that I was growing up, and you know, like I was always aware of some kind of subsects and some kind of subcultures and some kind of something interesting going on in some kind of cul-de-sac somewhere, you know. But to me, you know, unless I'm completely out of touch, I'm not aware that those sort of areas kind of exist really anymore.
Sure. So would you say counterculture is something that has gone through a shift that it can't recover from?
Well, I mean, I think something will happen. No, definitely. I mean, there'll be some. I mean, we're sort of like going through. Well, I don't know. There's loads of amazing stuff out there, but it's, you know, from one angle, we're sort of going through a kind of period like they were going through in the early 70s or whatever. You know, that kind of. It's just everything's just become so bland. I mean, but there's a lot of sort of almost good stuff being destroyed as well. So, you know, it's not, people aren't totally deluded. They're trying to do something, but, you know. Anyway.
Cool. No worries. Thank you for putting up with the fact that you can't even see my face as I record you. It must be really disconcerting. Just let this guy into your home who's recording you. That's part one. We'll come back for part two as I do my little seg away into the corner of the room.